Hey guys, my name is Alex Marquides and I'm Periphery's live sound engineer. And today we're going to talk about some automation that I did on the Pro 1, the Midas Pro 1, on the last Sonic Unrest tour. I recently just got home from the tour and I wanted to give you guys a tutorial on how to do it. I couldn't really find any good resources online on how to actually set up MIDI events and set up the scene changes and have someone actually do it for me in front of me. So Midas had some good videos on like what the automation does and the basics, but I really wanted something that was in depth. Eventually I figured it out and I wanted to make this video for you guys. So we're going to start today by using this blank scene that I created right before I went out on tour with the guys. It has some basic EQing, some basic panning, some labels, some stuff like that. This is before I even touched a PA with this show file. But what I wanted to do was explain to you guys how we even use the computer and how it even relates to the Midas and whatnot. With the computer on stage, it runs all our backing tracks, and it also runs MIDI information that sends out to the guys' Axe-Fx's, which is pretty much their pedal board. So the computer's controlling their pedal boards. They have no pedal boards on stage. And I wanted to do the same thing with me. I was like, why can't I have the same thing? And Midas, and I think most digital desks now have MIDI or timecode control that can change certain aspects of the desk. So what I wanted it to change was different panning options and solos and stuff like that, because each of the guys have different solos and they should be in the middle. Most of the time, this is the standard setup that I have for a show for most of the songs. Mark is on the left, Jake is in the center, and Misha's on the right. Mark and Misha pretty much play all the rhythms, and Jake plays all the leads. But there are many times that they switch off during different songs and whatever. So if Misha has a solo, what we're going to want to do is I'm going to want to pan Misha here to the center and Jake out to the right. Same goes with when Mark has a solo. You're going to have Jake out to the left, Misha to the right. So to do this automation, the way we're going to do it today is we need to create scenes for each MIDI event. So I want to have a scene that has Jake in the center, a scene that has Mark in the center, a scene that has Misha in the center, and different solos and whatever. We'll get to that. But first we're going to put Mark here on the left, Jake in the center, and this is my starting panning automation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Home, we're going to go to Automation, and click Automation. And to start, we're going to go to Store Scope. And these two buttons right here, Store and Recall Scope, kind of screwed me up in the beginning. When you go to Store Scope, you're pretty much telling it what you want it to record into your scene. So we're going to first, it kind of screwed me up because I wanted to, in like the Avid console, if you click it, that's what will be recorded. In this console, it's what's green will not be recorded. So to start, I'm going to click all, and then I'm going to go back to single and click 14, 15, and 16 on the faders. And then you also have to click this little arrow button, which is technically all. I tried recording with this all thing, but it kind of overrides this. So if you look here, there's a little fader. The fader includes pan. It's in the Midas, the instruction manual that you can find it as to what everything has. But this is kind of a little key that helps you. So I only want to record these three channels, right? 14, 15, 16 is my three guitar players, my fader and pan. And that's all I want to record. So we're going to go back to Automation. And then we're going to go to Recall Scope as well, because it's kind of like a safety feature for me. Do the same thing because I only want to recall these three channels, right? I don't want to recall anything else, because if middle of the show something happens and my graphics go out of whack or whatever, it's going to screw me up. So just as a safety feature, Store and Recall Scope have to be, for me, identical. I'm sure there's an easier way to do it, but this is just how I did it. All right, so now that you have this set up, we're going to go and actually record a scene. So we're going to go to Store Scene. We're going to go to Store to Next Scene. And then we're going to write Main Pan. So with Mark on the left, Jake in the center, and Misha on the right. We're going to go store to next scene, overwrite safe parameters. Yep, okay. Now, we're going to go back to the default, which is back to the channels. Now, I want to record my next scene, which is going to be Mark in the center. So we're going to go Mark center, Jake out. So this is cool. So now this is back to where we want it. Go back to automation. Now we're going to look at the store scope again. Now, since you already recorded this scope in that scene, it's going to stay there. So it should be okay. Whoops. I would check it again anyway, just while you're doing it, just to be safe. And then we're going to go store scene again, store to next scene. And we're going to call this Mark Center. And this is actually how my actual show is labeled. So cool. And then we're going to go to back to the default. I know it seems like a bit of a pain in the ass, but it's just how I figured out how to do it, and it works for me. So it didn't take that long. I mean, talking about an hour or two of it a day, but so the next one is going to be Misha center. So Mark and Jake on the outsides and Misha in the center. I'm going to go back to automation, store scene. So I'm going to call this Misha center. Now I have a bit more in my actual show, which I'll show you guys in a bit, that has different solos and stuff. Obviously the faders are down, but it doesn't, it's just for show right now. Cool. So now that we've created our scenes, I'm going to show you how to tell the console to receive MIDI from the computer on stage. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to automation again, and we're going to tell it to, we're going to click global because we want it to be a global event that happens throughout every scene in the console, not just in one particular scene. So we're going to click global. We're going to go to add MIDI, and it's going to just create a standard MIDI program change right here. And we're going to go to edit, and we're going to tell it we want it to be an incoming MIDI event, and it's going to be coming down IO box 1. It can come down your front of house port as well, or if you have a pretty large setup, you can tell it just wherever. For me, it's IO ID 1, and it's going to come down MIDI channel number 6. So the way we set it up is channel 2 is Mark, channel 3 is Jake, channel 4 is Misha, channel 5 is Nolly, who's no longer with us, just the way we had it set up a long time ago, and channel 6 is me. So we're going to click channel 6. We wanted to tell it to be a program change from the computer. You can tell it to do these other things, but I think program change is just the easiest. And we want it to be program change number 19. That's just where I started. I was on scene 19, so I just chose 19. It can be program change number 1. Doesn't matter. And you want it to tell it to do something at that point when it receives that MIDI note. You can be a notes event. It'll pop up right on your screen. It'll be a big thing right here to just say something. If you want it to be like check your solo, or I don't know, get ready for this upcoming song, whatever. What I did is I didn't use any of the notes. So what I did is we're going to click jump. So now what jump is going to do is going to jump to a particular scene in this show. So I want it to be the main pan. So whenever it receives program 19, it will go to this main pan scene. It'll go like that, just automatically. And now the delay is between the computer and the actual console switching is very minimal. It's milliseconds. It's unnoticeable. Anyway, that I've noticed it. I did it right on the grid in Pro Tools, or you can use any kind of DAW that you have. Pretty much on the grid, but play around with it. If it doesn't work, then obviously move it back and forth a couple, like an 8th note or a 16th note or something like that. So we want to go back to global and create a new MIDI event for Misha Center. We're going to go here, program change, edit, tell it be IO box 1, MIDI channel 6, and this one's going to be program change number 20. We're going to create one more. We're going to go to edit. It's going to be IO ID 1, MIDI channel 6, Program change number 21. Oh, I have to change this. Sorry. So jump to Misha Center. Gotta go back and change that. Jump and Mark Center. Cool. Now that we've told the console to receive MIDI from the computer, you want to go to your computer and set up a MIDI lane and send out MIDI information on the right channel, obviously. What we're going to do next is I'm going to show you my actual show that has a lot more MIDI information, a lot more scenes. Let's go try that. We're going to go to Files, and we're going to go click My Show, which is the Sonic Unrest show. Load, yes. Automation. We're going to click down to Boston, which is the last show I had. And I'll show you. There's a lot more EQing. There's a bit more bus sends and compression and gain and whatnot. But in the automation, we're going to go to the top. I have a lot more scene changes because I have a bit more scenes that I built trying to get more in depth. And I'm sure later on when I use this console again, I will make even more scenes and more things for the computer to do, essentially mixing a few different aspects of the show that I won't necessarily think about or don't necessarily have that many hands for. So you can see here I have 6 MIDI changes. So we go down to my actual MIDI scenes. Right here is this Mark solo, Jake solo, Misha solo, main pan, Mark center, and Misha center. So these are the actual 6 scenes that we have. And each scene has a different little thing. So for Mark solo, his guitar goes up 3 dB. The other 2 guitars go down 1 dB. Things like that. And everyone has their own little thing here. So we'll just click Jake solo, for instance. Go to now, and we'll go to default. And you can see right here, Jake's in the center. It should be 50. Jake's in the center, and he's up 5 dB. And if we go back, and we'll click another one, we'll do Mark solo. Now, go to default. You can see that Jake's been panned over, brought back down, and Misha's over. And now he's back up 3 dB. Each of the guitar players have different solo levels. So for instance, Misha's solo already is leveled in his Axe effects. Mark's is only like 2 or 3, and then Jake needs a bit of a boost just because his guitar feeds back a little more than the other guys due to his hot pickups. Well, hey guys, that's about it for me today. If you guys have any further questions, please comment on the video or send me an email. I'll put my email in the description of the video. Thanks for watching and listening to my terrible talking voice.